You think you're making the right choices? You trust the labels? You buy what seems healthy. But what if I told you you've been lied to? There's another way, a better way. And the best part, you don't have to move off grid or grow it all yourself to take back control.
We've handed over our food security to someone else, and they're here to help you take it back. It's the Farm to Table Direct Show with Ryan and Keith.
Hello, everyone. This is Keith with the Farm to Table Direct Show. And, of course, over here with me is brother, and in the background. And in the background is Dakota, otherwise known or AKA Mr. P. So just want to welcome everybody in and say hello, you fresh farm freaks.
Hey.
Fruit freaks.
What? Why's everybody got to be freaks? I tell you. Anyway.
So just a little bit of, tonight we're going to be talking, why your food, where you source your food matters now more than ever. And of course, before we get started, I just want to do a little bit of housekeeping and let everybody know that this is a live chat event. And please feel free to leave your messages over to chat, because you never know, you might become the star of the show.
Yeah, welcome in the wild huckleberry. Yeah.
Or you might also run it off the rails, as we say. But I'm very excited to get into the show tonight. Me and Ryan, we put a lot of work into these shows, and we try to be really conscious about, what we put up there. We like to take aim with purpose, and tonight is no exception to that. And so, we're talking about why this matters now. And food isn't just about eating. It's about health, economy, and freedom.
That's right.
What would you say about health on that one, bro?
Well, I think it's, I don't want to say it's obvious, but what we eat, our food is our best medicine, and what we eat, the things we put into our body, certainly have an effect on our health. We've been hearing that's been in the news a lot lately. That's been getting the headlines, especially with RFK Jr. and him being out Health and Human Services and that.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, it is, knowing what's in your food, knowing, what you're getting. And, food looks good, it tastes good, but is it good for you? And, that's really the question. And sometimes what we think is might not be, but, we've seen the rise in diabetes, we've seen the rise in other health ailments. And, those of us that believe that it's all connected back to our diet, it's all connected back to our food. That health, it's just, you only get one shot at that, it's
Yeah, that's right. And I just want to welcome in Glory Hills. And of course, you've already said hello to Robbie. And once again, tonight we are talking about where you source your food and why it matters. And we're going to be getting in a little bit into labeling and that sort of thing, deceptive practices and labeling and that sort of thing. And so, and here's another thing. Every time you buy your food, you're making a choice. And about what kind of world that you want to live in. And you're thinking, well, why does that matter? What do you mean, what kind of world? We're going to get into that. But do we really need to know what we're choosing? These three stories that we're about to share reveal why where you buy your food matters now more than ever.
Absolutely.
And so we're about to get into the hidden truths behind processed food. And this next couple of stories that we're about to tell, I think, illustrate that perfectly. Yeah. And with that being said,
roll that beautiful bee footage.
Bruce Bradley began his career in the early 1990s, working as a marketing executive for major food corporations such as Nabisco, Pillsbury, and General Mills. During this time, he was responsible for promoting products like Lifesavers candy, Icebreakers gum, and various cake and frosting mixes. Initially, Bruce believed he was marketing occasional indulgences, but as the years passed, he became increasingly aware of the industry's shift toward questionable health claims and the growing obesity epidemic. This realization led him to question the impact of his work on public health and his personal legacy. In 2008, after over 15 years in the processed food industry, Bruce made a decision to leave his corporate career. This choice was influenced by his desire to pursue his passions and to take care of his ailing father. During this period of reflection, Bruce became more educated about the risks and environmental impacts of consuming processed foods. In 2010, he took a significant step towards transforming his diet by joining a local community-supported agriculture, otherwise known as a CSA program. This involvement provided him with fresh, organic produce and introduced him to a variety of vegetables he had never cooked before, expanding his culinary horizons and fostering a deep connection to his food sources. Motivated by his personal transformation and insider knowledge of the food industry, Bruce became an advocate for real, unprocessed foods. He launched a blog to share his insights and experiences, aiming to educate consumers about the deceptive practices of big food companies. In 2011, he published a novel titled Fat Profits, a suspense-filled thriller that exposes the inner workings of the processed food industry. Through his writing and public speaking engagements, Bruce continues to inspire others to make informed dietary choices and to support local food systems. So there you have it. This is coming straight from an industry insider, somebody who worked a total of 15 years marketing processed foods. So you could say, he's been in the belly of the beast and he kind of knows, the inner workings. Unintended. Right. And so, he realized what was in that. And I guess he grew a conscience at some point and decided to go a little bit different direction. And, I don't know, exactly what all he knew, but I think he probably realized, what was in the ingredients and that the deceptive practices that was going on in our food industry, processed food industry.
Right. And I would say, definitely a crisis of conscience. Once you learn the truth about something, do you continue to propagate that? Do you continue to, be a part of the situation? And if it's eating at you, probably keeping you awake at night, or you just know that, you're not helping people. And so, to make that decision to walk away from that big of a, commitment of a career, walk away from that inside thing to then, turn the other way around and say, hey, no, we're going to tell the truth about this. And I think that, bravery, in the face of that, so.
Yes, I think that's kind of refreshing in a world where you say, who can you trust anymore? Right. You can't trust what people tell you. Most of the time, you can't trust the labels, the way that those are written, seem to favor, big agriculture, big box stores, big food processing companies altogether, and so.
I mean, how it is. You go on the back of that thing and you're reading, and there's words that most of us can barely pronounce, much less actually know what it is, and so, you get into that stuff, and that does, and how many people, that's the thing, people just get out of the habit of even reading the labels, they don't, even look at, maybe the most they'll look at is calories or, the big stuff up on the top, they don't get down into that fine print down on the bottom of that label, or what's not there, even better than that, what's not there. And
right. I'm guilty as charged, actually. I'll pick up things that I grew up eating, that sort of thing, and not looking at labels. But, the more I get into this, the more I want to see what's in those labels. And as you said many times, if you can't pronounce it, chances are it's not natural. and
Right.
we should be looking at more of that. And one of the things I want to point out too is that tonight's show is not just about homesteaders, and
No.
farmers and ranchers and that sort of thing, who like and see the value of naturally grown foods, raising things in a fashion that is healthy for us, healthy for others, but it's also for people who are consumers.
Right.
Maybe they live in the city. Maybe they would love to be able to eat healthy, but they really don't know where to resource it or what's the importance of it, of trying to find ways to do that. And so, I thought it was important that we open up with somebody who was an industry insider, somebody who's seen the problem firsthand and was able to share, his experiences with that.
Right.
And
Okay. I was just going to say, I was going to take, before we move on, take a minute to welcome in Joy and welcome in Dakota and Shayla from Old Pecan Homestead. Good to see you all with us tonight.
And again, remind everybody that it's an open chat event. Leave your chats and comments over there. And if it's resonating with what our show topic's about tonight, you could become the star of the show. Or
there you go.
You say something, totally outlandish, crazy, and unrelated. Well,
we might still,
we may still put it up there.
But it's we talked about Bruce and Bradley, and he was an insider. He's inside the business, and he's seeing what's going on. But what about a consumer? What about somebody who's just me and you that's on the store shelves? We're walking to the stores. We don't know what's going on at that ag corporation. We don't work inside. We don't have that insider track, insider information. So we have that responsibility too. So
absolutely, and I'm glad that you brought that up. Some people may know this story of this lady, and her name is. I got to be careful. That word "Hari," I don't even want to go down that rabbit hole right now.
Right.
But her name is Vani Hari, and she's otherwise known as the Food Babe. And you guys may have heard of her, maybe not. But if not, we're about to share that story with you right now. Vani Hari used to be just like the rest of us, grabbing food off the grocery store shelves, trusting the labels, assuming that if something says natural or organic, it must be good for you. She wasn't questioning much, because why should she? The system is designed to feel trustworthy. But then something changed. Maybe it was a documentary she watched late at night, or maybe it was a fine print on an ingredient list that didn't add up. But at some point, she started to pull at a thread, and what unraveled was unsettling. Vani started digging hard. She read studies, interviewed experts, and compared ingredients lists across brands. And what she found was a pattern, a disconnect between what food companies were selling and what consumers believed they were buying. Natural didn't always mean natural. Healthy could still be full of chemicals. Some ingredients weren't even required to be listed transparently. At first, this was just personal research, but outrage has a way of demanding action. So she started writing, posting, and calling out big food corporations on what she saw as deceptive marketing. And people listened. Her blog, her social media, her voice grew into something bigger. The food industry took notice. Some companies made changes. Others pushed back, calling her alarmist, even dangerous. But the consumers, they were paying attention. In a 2014 NPR interview, she made it clear she wasn't against the food industry. She was against secrecy. She wasn't telling people what to eat. She just wanted them to know what they were actually eating. And that's where this story becomes bigger than one person. Vani Hari's journey from disillusioned shopper to one of the loudest voices in food activism tapped into something universal. A shared frustration, a desire for transparency, the belief that we all deserve to make informed choices about the food we put on our tables. This isn't just about Vanny. It's about a broader shift in how we think about food, labels, and accountability. It's about the power of asking, what's really in this? And what happens when enough people demand an answer? And maybe, just maybe, it's a reminder that change doesn't start with institutions. It starts with regular people standing in the grocery aisle, looking a little closer. Bro, I think we need to show a little love over here to
I think so.
the chat and everything.
Yeah.
And Dakota and Shayla also put this one up here and said, haha, once you unravel the thread, you can never put it back. And that's the truth. Once your eyes are open to, the things that are in food and that you've got better choices and how it's probably affecting our health, our wealth, and overall our food freedom, you cannot put it back in the box.
How many times have we said, man, I wish I could live back in that world again where everything was just, sunshine and rainbows and just oblivious to what was going on, but there's no going back to that.
Yeah, it's a faint memory. I do. And what is it called? We've got a name. They've got a name for it. It's called normalization bias, right?
Mm-hmm.
We all want to go back to the way it was before, but the dirty little trick is we can't. But it's a good thing. It's not. I would like to be living a little bit more carefree than what I do today. Back like I was maybe in the 90s, But the truth is this has been good medicine for all of us, right?
Oh yeah.
Exploring these issues, opening up what I feel like is the truth, finding out things about our health and that there's things that we can do about our health.
Mm-hmm.
And David and Holly put something up here, said good healthy foods this day and age is starting to be more available than when I was a kid. I believe that a health and self-sufficiency revolution is just beginning. And I would really have to agree with that. I mean, especially with the new MAHA movement, but it was happening before the MAHA movement, the homestead tsunami began probably in earnest after the pandemic, and it's continuing to see the growth, and I absolutely agree with that. It is becoming more available because I think people are becoming more conscious of it.
Right. We'll go ahead and share one more in there that kind of ties right in. Robbie shared this about Huckleberry. Reading labels is hard these days. They keep changing the names of the stuff you want to avoid.
Well, again, Robbie, I would say if you don't know what it is, chances are it's not natural.
Right. I remember when MSG, monosodium glutamate, was the big,
Oh yeah, it was the evil demon in those days, right? So
and I was like learning how to pronounce that word and what it was, and looking on the label for it. If I seen it, nope, we don't want that. And it does. And let's see, there we go. This is just glad the food pyramid isn't taught in school anymore. I mean, it was deeply ingrained to me that bread was the most important thing. We were all lied to.
Yeah, we were.
Starting in the 70s when that was created, and fortunately, hopefully, the people that are now going to be leading that up will kind of get that pyramid shifted in some kind of normal fashion, or what should be right, or just get rid of it altogether. But
yeah, absolutely. But I think people are, at least, it may not be official government policy to not preach the food pyramid right now, but people are coming around. I think it should be. Well, right. People begin to realize, a lot more about what healthy food really is, And by the way, even if you were to eat the things that's in that pyramid, you still don't know what's in it. Like bread is not all equal.
Oh no.
Milk is not all equal. Meat's not all equal, right?
Yeah, you actually
So-
start reading what's in a bread, a bag of Wonder Bread from when we were kids. When Bro and I, when we were kids, versus a bag of that same package of bread now, and the difference of what was in it then to what's in it now, and so much of it has changed. And that's something that Vanny talked about, was the fact that the food industry misleads us with buzzwords like natural, healthy, organic, right?
Yeah.
That they use those words and to mislead. We think, oh, it says it's healthy, it says it's organic, it says it's natural, but is it? That's that whole thing, and that's that marketing. And much like the style book with the AP and how things are framed and how things are presented, well, it's the same thing in marketing with big food. And we've got to learn how that transparency needs to be there, and it's still not there. But and Dakota popped up another one here. Well, he's on it tonight. I don't think MSG is that bad, but it certainly shouldn't be in absolutely everything. But if you want to eat a meal once in a while, like Chinese, it's kind of hard to replicate it without it. Fair enough.
That's true. Fair enough, right?
Yeah.
We're not food Nazis here.
No, not at all. No.
Anyway, the key takeaway is that processed food industry thrives when consumers don't question what's in their food. And the more that we demand transparency in real food, the harder it becomes for companies to deceive us. I think the biggest message that anyone can send, especially in numbers, is to change the source of your food.
Right.
Don't buy your carrots from a big box store. Don't buy your meat from a big box store if you can help it. I'm not trying to demonize them, and
Completely.
out of whole cloth, but the truth is, anytime that you've got deceptive regulations leading to deceptive practices in food labeling, who do you trust, right?
Well,
So this
right.
is a big deal. I mean, answering the question, who do you trust? Well, I would trust my local farmer definitely much better than I would a corporate, a corporate entity. Right?
Well, right, and that's that goes back into so much of in our bill we were talking about last week, SB 939. That key phrase all the way through that bill that just always run with me is informed end user. If we're an informed consumer, if we're an informed end user, and we have the proper information, then we can make good decisions. But if they don't give us that and we don't have that, then we're left making decisions based on whatever's been told, or based on just, I'm not looking, close my eyes and throw a dart in the dark and see, if I hit the bullseye. Before we move too forward, talking about the bread, and this is, I'm glad that you put that up because I couldn't remember the words that were seen, but it's 50% bread, deoxides, titanium, aluminum, and deoxides are typically not good for you to eat. Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Bread's not a loaf of bread anymore. So
those things seem more like something you'd use in construction.
Well, automotive chemicals and things like that. Right?
Something like that, man. But yeah, good point. And I want everybody out there to realize that ultimately we're the one who is in charge of our health. I would even say, everybody that's out there, I'm going to imagine that you've raised your right hand and repeat after me. I, then say your name, promise to take responsibility for my own health. That means you got to learn the things that are good for you. And you got to, and then once you know what's good for you, source your food in the right place, and then take charge of your health.
I gotta put myself in this category of, to know and not to do is still not to know.
That's true.
So, okay, you got it. Good. Yeah. Many breads have as much sugar in them as cake. Yeah. Just doesn't taste as good, but yeah, I know what you mean.
Right. Like those two ingredients, I think they're rooted in pure evil practically, because man, they call my name so loudly when I pass by them.
Oh, I know.
Eat me. I know. It's like, it's like that perfect combination of wheat and sugar. You know what I mean? A grain and a sugar. They go so well together. You know.
I picture a loaf of bread with a mouth on it going, you know you want me. You know you want me. Come on, it's okay.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And David, Holly, I don't know which one it is, but I'm just going to pretend it's both.
Right.
The ingredients is different in foods and vaccines, but that is a taboo topic in a lot of social settings and public opinions, right? The FDA even has stated that there can be up to 20% error on labels. Really? I hadn't heard that.
That's
but
an interesting
it doesn't
stat.
surprise me.
Yeah. You know, I bet I can't have a 20% error on my tax return.
No, you can, but they will.
If it's in their favor, they don't care. But yeah, it's yeah.
Oh right, yeah. I don't mention it.
Yeah,
Right.
You know, but
yeah, and
reach out, touch someone.
Reach out and touch someone.
Yeah.
Thank you, Teresa. Good evening, Teresa.
Yeah. But anyway, but you know, there is. I mean, you know, we talk about where does a guy go? Oh, hey, Todd and Robert, glad to see you guys in Farming Nature's Way.
Good evening, Todd.
You know, where do you go? And you know, even better than that, you know, what do you do? What do you do for yourself? You know, what's an option? You know, and you know, how do we make that shift towards real food?
Mm-hmm.
You know, versus you know, highly processed and oh, hey, glad David and Holly are both in today. So
yeah,
cool. Glad to have you both. They said, well, wrong one. Okay, well, Tracy. Hey, welcome in, Tracy. Glad to see you. My digestive tract is off when I eat store-bought bread. I don't know.
Yeah, right.
Where I was going to click there, and nothing wrong with that comment, was David and Holly said that's off their website. And, but anyway, as far as that 20%, that's off their own website. I guess that's off FDA.
I see.
So
wow,
straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak.
Yeah, so to speak. Yeah. So, you know, segueing into this next section, I just want to say that, you know, what kind of world do you want to live in?
Right.
And what I mean by that is that, you know, do you want to live in a world that has no small farmers?
Right.
If you want to keep small farmers around, we got to support them. Right. And besides, that's what's good for us. That's what's healthy for us. And okay, let's see. We'll take a little break.
We'll put a pause.
Segue in there. Yeah.
Yep. Subject matter a little late, but what about there not even being an insert with the shot that shall not be mentioned? Labeling is insanity. Yeah. Don't even get an information packet. I think is what he's getting. You don't even get a little information insert in there or nothing. You know, no, really telling you anything. You know, like I said, transparency is non-existent in some cases.
No, it's not. And as a matter of fact, people who are paying attention to some of the latest crazy stuff going on around the world, especially, you know, and I don't want to go too far off into this, but it's very illustrative of the world we live in. There are people who think freedom of speech should be regulated.
Yeah.
Okay. And when J.D. Vance spoke the other day to a group of world leaders at an event, he pretty much spoke truth to power. And one person even cried and said, man, I can't believe you know, you're not one of us. You know, it was something like that. I'm not saying it exactly, but that's the way I took it. And so as far as what they think about us, it's becoming really clear.
Oh yeah.
You know, and so that's the world we live in right now. So it doesn't surprise me.
Well, what did I say the other day in one of those things? You know, we are the herd they're wanting to cull. You know, and
oh wow.
You know, if you want to take it that far. But you know, moving back on, bro. You know, we talk about that. You know, life without a small farmer. You know, I shared this with you, and I know it's out on Facebook, so some others may have seen this as well. The video that RFK was out talking about working with the USDA and everything, and about to push to go back to the small farmer, helping the small farmer. He even said the big ag, those big people, they're doing just fine. It's that
Yeah.
middle to small guy that's getting squished. It's, you know, and they're the ones getting hurt by all this. And so, to focus on small farms, and buying from small farms and supporting small farms has even more thing because, they don't, most of them small farmers, medium small farmers, they're not getting those government subsidies. They're not getting those kickbacks. They're not getting crop insurance. They're not getting, because they don't meet the qualifications. They're, because all those qualifications are rigged for big ag and monocrop and that type of thing. And as we went over before, and I went over in the show on the mornings, and so, we need to see that. And so, as we go into looking at a small farm and looking at how it works and maybe what had to be different, to make that happen. And so that leads us kind of to our next story, which is about a small farm, a small farmer and his wife. We go ahead.
Right.
If you got the clicker over there, roll that in and set that up there. Yeah. Connor Crickmore wasn't always a farmer. He used to be a New York City school teacher, living a life dictated by subway schedules, endless noise, and long hours in a job that never quite felt like his calling. But he and his wife, Kate, had another dream, a simpler life, a life connected to real food, real work, and the land. So in 2009, they did something bold. They left the city behind, moved into a tiny fishing cabin in the Catskills, and leased just 1.5 acres of land. That land, Neversink Farm, was going to be their fresh start. The problem? They had no idea what they were doing. Farming, it turned out, was hard. They worked the fields dawn to dusk, battling weeds, pests, and exhaustion. The first few seasons were brutal. Crops failed, income was scarce, and the dream that had felt so full of promise in the beginning started to feel like a mistake. Connor thought about quitting. Maybe they had been naive. Maybe small-scale farming wasn't possible. But something inside of him wouldn't let go of the idea that there had to be a better way. So, instead of giving up, Connor started experimenting. He read everything he could on soil health. He ditched the plow and adopted a no-till farming method, a method that preserved the soil and reduced labor. He designed his own tools, making the work more efficient. And little by little, the farm began to thrive. The same land that had once barely produced enough to scrape by became one of the most productive small farms in the country. Neversink Farm was no longer a struggle. It was a model of what was possible. And people noticed. Other farmers wanted to know how he had done it, and Connor, who had once been a teacher, started teaching again. Connor didn't just save his own farm. He realized that his struggles weren't unique. Small farmers all over the country were battling the same inefficiencies, the same challenges, the same doubts, and many of them were failing. So he did something about it. He started Neversink Tools, designing equipment specifically for small farms. He created online courses to teach other farmers how to be more productive and financially successful. His YouTube videos, they reached thousands, proving that small-scale, sustainable farming wasn't just possible, it could thrive. And it all started with a dream that almost didn't make it. That story, when I was reading that and, studying that, it was just like, one, it's inspiring, the never quit attitude. The other thing, I do love that it's up in New York. I love that it's up there, in an area that we don't traditionally associate with small farming and that type of thing, But the fact that, he realized that they're in a system that's set up to fail. As a small farmer, it's set up to fail because everything's dominated by industrial agriculture. All the stuff, all the resources and what's in there. And, when you wake up to the fact that you're in a system that's designed to make you fail, or at least not help you succeed, it kind of puts a different spin on how you approach things. And I just love the the no quit attitude that that they had in that. So many of our people, so many of our friends in this community, they have to have that same attitude of not quitting, even when it gets tough.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I would say to that is that it's not easy out there, and it could have went the other way, right? And so many people who try it don't make it. So, it just puts a finer point on how precious our small farmers, homesteads really are to the community, even if they don't realize it yet. And the preservation of that is really important. If they're not there, where do I turn? Right? If things break down, we've talked about it so many times about, taking links out of that chain, bringing food, sourcing your food closer to home, and that sort of thing. If there's no farmers there, we don't have that choice. The only choice we would have then is just to do our own. Now, do I think that that's going to disappear? No, thank goodness. I don't think that that's going to disappear, because I think too many people have opened their eyes now and started to realize that some of the old ways that we used to do things are so critical in this time. And I think that lines are being drawn, and black and white is becoming pretty clear in a lot of things. And it's very clear that I don't live in the world that I used to live in back in the 90s.
Right.
Although I would like to be able to trust more. Just the simple truth is I can't. I would like to not have to take responsibility for my food, is what that really means.
Right.
And of course, but that's not right either. I have to do that. You have to do that. We all have to take responsibility for what we put in our mouth, what we put on our table for our family to eat. And so, the real big takeaway from that is that, we got to support the farmers.
Yep.
And, I intend to do that. What little bit I grow, is not enough. I still have to reach out to other people that I trust.
And it does. Because these small farms, especially ones that are trying to, when I say a small farm, that's somebody who's trying to make a living, or some part of their living, off of their farm. Somebody like myself, who, if I grow stuff, it's for my consumption, and it's for my, preservation and that type of thing at this juncture. But, there's those out there who, do try to, it's part of their income, it's part of their survival, and, sometimes they're out in the wind. And if we don't support them, then, there's just no way they can really actually make it. It's just one of those things. And, to me, I like the idea of being able to put a face to the product I'm buying. It's not just one of those multiple corporations that are actually only owned by about 3 or 4 parent corporations, and most everybody's probably seen that thing floating around on the internet that's got the little circle there that's got the major food, these big companies and all these brands that fall underneath their umbrella.
Oh yeah.
It lets you know how centralized it has gotten. But, the fact that, Connor and Neversink Farm, it's proof that local system can thrive, but it's only if we choose to support them.
Right. Right. And I know that, a lot of the homesteads, they might be making enough to supply their family, and maybe, outside their tightest circle a little bit, but
right.
Not in a great way. But, I know in this community, there's a lot of people that has the heart to want to produce more than what they need, so that they can offer it to the community. As a matter of fact, I seen a video with Dakota from Old Pecan Homestead, who was, talking about his desire to do that. How many people in the homestead community, if you get to know them, they have the heart of a teacher. They have a heart of somebody who wants to feed people. And,
I know, Dakota and then shared that. And I know, Man, Amanda and Colin Hardcastle, that was a
Yeah.
big part of their thing, was wanting to be able to help their community, feed their community. I know his dad's, the food truck that was down at the Oklahoma, at the Rendezvous, that's his thing, is going out and feeding people and being able to do that. And so, I mean, it's prevalent. And I think it's one of the things we've loved about the community is that
Mhm.
desire to pass on the knowledge, the desire to teach and share, and then the desire to want to feed those around them and help the people they have healthy choices. So
Right. So even if you're just a consumer of these things and looking to just move a little bit right of the scale, get involved with some of these homestead communities. I promise you, you won't regret it. You get to know some really solid people here that, like I said, they have a heart for others. They have a heart for community, um, and yeah. So bringing this all in, what's at stake here? We mentioned that it was health, the economy, and freedom, and I kind of want to break those down a little bit. And in the health, with the rise of chronic disease, obesity, and food allergies, it's not random. It's directly linked to what's in our food. Choosing real whole foods over processed ones transforms our health outcomes. Again, when we begin to realize this more, the more we seek out those resources of that. And yeah.
Right. And that is, I mean, the more we, the more we do the investigation and the more we dig into it, choosing, like I said, real foods, that's a big thing for me. It's a struggle. I'm not gonna lie to you, even with, going to the pre-prepared stuff and things of that nature. It's hard to give up convenience, if you will, for a little while, or make that conscious choice to, to go that direction, knowing that really that's what we need to do, And I mean, when you look at all these things that arose, the chronic diseases, the obesity, the diabetes, all the different things that, are now linked to our food, really. When you come back to it, and the changes in the food and the ultra processing and all that, and the food pyramid we were talking about,
Right.
it just, really it's, we're eating our own health, and that's, so we have, it just goes so much to that. And,
Yeah. And then, also the economy, when we buy from corporate food giants, profits go to those large agribusinesses. And when we buy from local farms, on the other hand, and ethical producers, that money stays in our communities.
right.
And so, again, this goes back to the last story that we shared, and about, the farmers and the small farmers. And so, it helps our economy. It gives us diversity too. And when I say diversity, I certainly don't mean the kind of diversity that's otherwise known as DEI,
No,
diversity, equity, and inclusion.
That's been banned. That's been banned.
Yeah.
We're not allowed that. We're not allowed to say that word anymore. No, it's but it is. I mean, it's anytime it's local business, whether it's farmers or anything else. I mean, you're putting that money back into your local community, your local economy. I mean, it's always better, and you buy from, a store. The producer may not, how much they get of that is drastic compared to when you deal directly with the farmer, how much of that money goes back into his pocket directly versus all the middlemen that you just took out of that equation as well. I'm going to go ahead and share that. There we go. Because, if we could get the big farmers on board, it would help us drastically. They keep growing the soybeans and the corn because that's what the big corporations are paying them for. You're right, it is, and it's also what the subsidies and the so-called crop insurance and the subsidies are. That's where the money's at in that. They cash big checks. I mean, I've known it personally where literally producers made more money losing the crop than if they'd have brought it to market. So I mean, that's when you got that backwards, rewarding, I guess I ain't gonna say failure, but rewarding that, and continuing to just ruin, that point of agriculture, which I talked about on the show the other day, where they growing these monocrops, and if the crop fails, they got to continue to water it, and they got to continue to try to salvage it and all this other stuff when it's really wasting resources, and it's just things. I'm gonna go ahead and let's see. Yeah. Let's see, that's that one. I'm gonna go to this one. Yeah, Dakota's on it tonight. I'm loving it. Grass
He's
and
rolling.
should put on them lamb, goats, pigs, grain should be grown on a basis of which is used to supplement livestock. Local farmers, not weird commercial.
Yeah, I think you missed one in that.
I did.
line,
Okay.
and there was
Let me go
one
back
there.
over. But if they really knew the market, they would have people wanting to buy non-GMO soy or corn. Another way to do things. And quite honestly, most of these corn and soybean fields should be turned.
And into the second one. There you
And
go.
beef should be put
Yeah.
on them. Lamb, goats, pigs, grain should be grown on a basis of which it is used to supplement livestock of a weird commercial megatropolis. And yeah, I like that. And that's valid. And I'm got to throw Scotty in here. We can say what we want, or has he banned freedom of speech yet? Like all other things he's doing.
Right. Right. I mean, yeah, I kind of get what you mean there. Or at least I think I do. Is that the lesser of two evils is still better.
Right.
And the jury's still out about what some of the things you and I were talking about it earlier today about we just don't know. It's not like everything that this administration is doing seems like we're leading our way back to the founding of America. Not everything.
No.
Now, some of the things are good, and man, we really need to do something, and something is being done greater than it ever has been before. So I'm not giving up, on them. And
right. Well, we talked earlier. I mean, you had this conversation earlier that things are going on, and a lot of people may be, and I have concerns about how much power is being concentrated in the executive branch and in the White House. I have concerns with that. Because it's not how the system was designed to work. It was supposed to be, the division of things and not consolidated power. So I have concerns with it. But for so many years now, decades in fact, the legislative branch has done nothing but pass all these rules and regulations, not even knowing what's in them, not taking the time to read them because they're lazy at the best. I mean, the best excuse you can give them is that they're lazy. That's the best excuse, because otherwise they're complicit. Otherwise they're in on the fix. But they have abdicated their responsibility for so long that now we're having to bring in a sledgehammer and a wrecking ball to undo all this stuff to even get a chance to be back.
That's right. You got to break up the DC apparatchik, otherwise known as the deep state, otherwise known as the deep bureaucracy,
Right.
That's up there. And in DC, it's a culture of bureaucracy. You know what I mean? How many jobs are out there? And I think we've said this in the past too, about how many people's actually, the percentage of people in Washington, DC that votes Democrat. That should tell you who's got their tentacles so deep in DC.
Right.
That's enough.
Oh, absolutely. I'm going to swing this back. Dakota followed back up with a comment on that, and it was what we were talking about. Is it crossing a big scam? Government subsidizes the insurance. That's the only reason it doesn't fail. It needs to fail. It's not capitalism or anything even remotely close to it. And
that's right. The swamp, Robbie.
The swamp. That's right.
AKA the swamp, AKA deep state, AKA,
right.
AKA.
Right.
Exactly.
Because it is, and like I said, it's like I said, too many decades with all them people, and it's
man, Dakota. This is not the conversation for it. I want to go down that rabbit hole.
I do. I want to chase it.
You keep like a hook in my mouth. You're like, you're pulling me off into it.
But I would love private. We're not even private, just a different show.
A different show, man. But those things are to be seen. And, I look for the same things you do there on that one, Dakota. But anyway, swerving back into the show flow here.
Right, just a little bit.
And there's this statement, bro, that was made.
Right.
And it was freedom. Where you get your food determines who controls it.
Yep.
And I'm going to pause, a judicious pause right here. Where you get your food determines who controls your food.
That's right.
Think about that just a minute. Let that sink in for like a year. So
okay, just chew on that one. Well, we
Yeah,
don't have a year, and that's
right.
that's the problem. Like I was talking earlier, we rely on a handful of big corporations, and they get to decide what's available, what's affordable, and even what's in it, and that's, again, back to the freedom of choosing your food and freedom of having the small farms out there doing what they do and supporting them. That because otherwise, we're just we've given that, what our intro says, we've given over control of our food to someone else,
and we're here to help you take it back.
No,
it's the Farm to Table Direct Show.
Right. But I mean, that it is, that is the situation though. And so, so many things, with supporting local farmers, regenerative agriculture, which the more I've studied, the more I think that's just the coolest thing ever. And independent producers. That means we get to keep control in our hands.
That's
not,
right.
Not in big corporations, not in big government or any of those things, and
right.
So, I mean, I think that's really just,
right.
at a nutshell.
I'll compare and contrast for just a minute, the two different choices that we have. Relying on a handful of big corporations means they decide what's available, what's affordable, and what's in it. And I will add that they also decide when you get it and when you don't. All right. And then, like I said, compare and contrast. Supporting local farmers, regenerative agriculture, and independent producers means keeping control of food in the hands of people, not corporations. So, that's what's at stake here. And, for people who didn't really realize that, our freedom, not just freedom where we source our food, I'm telling you, freedom overall as we know it, or at least we think we know it, in the United States of America and under this Constitution. And what I will say about that is that Henry Kissinger said, control the food, control the people, right? And so this is, ultimately, that's what we're talking about. Whether you believe that that'll happen or not, it doesn't matter. It's more or less what they think, what they've said from their own mouth, and from, what we have to prepare for, and not just be sleepwalking through life, right? So
absolutely. I mean,
anyway,
head on a swivel, be paying attention to what's going on, and making conscious decisions, for ourselves. But bro, what can they do today? What can people do today that are looking at this?
Well,
here's what we had to say.
Right. Look beyond the labels, right?
Yeah.
Research where your food comes from, and don't just trust marketing schemes.
I mean, marketing brought us bacon, but
Thank you, Edward Bernays. I do love bacon. I ain't gonna lie.
But no, there is so much of that. What we talked about the first story about what marketing does, and even the second story with with Vani Hari about misusing words like natural and misusing like organic and healthy. That is the marketing. They're trying to reach a specific group of people. They just might not be telling you everything. So look beyond the labels. Research.
Right.
Research.
Secondly, what we talked about was supporting local food or local farmers. Find a CSA, farmers market, or direct consumer producer near you. Go to a farm or a ranch, or people who are getting into different things, a cow share, people who get into milk shares and all that type of stuff. Reach out, find those people that's in your community and support them. Make friends with them. I promise you can't go wrong with that. And finally, shift small, shift small, but intentionally.
Right.
Even one meal a week sourced locally can make an impact.
Yeah.
This is what we were talking about, making baby steps. It makes an impact in that farmer's life. It makes an impact in your life, and making baby steps toward your health, and toward your local economy, and also toward your freedom.
That's it. Freedom through food independence. That's the way it's about. But
Final thoughts?
yeah, our choices. We talked about it. Our food choices shape the world. Shapes the world we're going to live in. Shapes the world we're going to have choices of. And you got to ask yourself, what kind of food system do you want to support? I mean, really. I know I've supported big food and big ag for a lot of years with the choices I buy.
Sure. Yeah.
And so choosing to make those small steps, as you said, and we've talked about the baby steps and moving further to the right on the self-reliable, self-sustainable, self-reliant scale of where we source our food and how where our food comes from. Well, the only way we're going to move further right is to begin making these little baby step choices of sourcing food locally from farmers markets, CSAs, farm direct stores, direct from the producer. That's the only that's where it's got to start. And like you said, even if it's just maybe you can't do every meal or you can't do it every week, but you can do it. And making those little choices like I talked about this morning. Being able to build a stockpile on $10 a week. That's a small process. That's a small step, but it's a step in the right direction. And I think that's where we need to be headed. So
yeah, that's right. So what kind of food system do you want to support? That is the question. And so with that being said, I think we ought to wrap it up. And bro, can you tell us a little bit about what your show in the morning is going to be about?
My show in the morning. Yeah, I had that right here. Actually, it's 24 foods or 24 food items that you need to stock up on now.
Right.
Yeah.
And some of those were like long shelf life.
That's the thing. Yeah. Shelf life. I covered things up. Yeah. 24 foods to stockpile now. Many of them have a shelf life of up to 20 years. And that's more in the preparation side. I've been on the last couple of days. But that's what we're going to be doing. As of right now, unless something changes drastically, as of right now, 6 a.m. live on the Farm to Table Direct Show morning edition. And that's tomorrow's big topic. So some of those one or two of those 24 will surprise you. Surprised me when I read them. Some of the others, not so much. But I'm live, Scotty.
Joining live tomorrow.
Work is a big question mark whether we're even going to have work tomorrow. But also at the same time, even if I do have to go into work, I don't have to be until later. They're giving time for the weather to clear. So yes, Scotty and Robbie, I will be live. It'll be live, Ryan, tomorrow, not Memorex, Ryan. So looking forward to being there with y'all in the morning, bright and early. May have to preset the coffee pot tonight. I don't know. It's
same here, man. Same here. I'm going to try to make it up with you guys in the morning. Yay,
me. Yay. But
you guys are so lucky,
man. I tell you.
Anyway,
but that's what's going on there. Yeah.
All right. Well, bro, I'm going to wrap this thing up, and we got just a couple of minutes before the top of the hour, and I want to get out of here and give other people a little bit of chance to come on and maybe some of our audience can go out and see some other homesteading content.
That's what I say. I think Leonard Mountain usually has a live Tuesdays at 8 o'clock. So a lot of people get a chance to go over there. And Dakota, love to have that conversation and another time. I don't necessarily don't disagree with you is what I'm saying, and we discuss it ourselves privately quite a bit. But we'll have to put something together for.
I'll be there, Scotty, but in the morning with you guys. But
and
I can't promise you how awake I will be.
Right. There you go, Tracy. Choices every day. Yeah, choices each day.
Yeah, choices each day. That's right. One foot in front of the other.
That's it.
So,
But,
all right,
bro, let's take this out of here. Tune in tomorrow morning. I always go over the upcoming events and everything. So, but listen, we are less than, let's see, today, yeah, we are like 30 days away, less than 30 days away from Okie Homestead Expo. So we will be having a ticket giveaway maybe coming up soon, I think. And, so see what we'll do maybe. I know we're there.
Beginning of the month, right?
Yeah, right around the first of the month. And so,
right. You guys might be surprised to know that we've got every Tuesday night titled from here to the end of the year already.
Assuming life don't happen, but
well, right. We do reserve the right to call an audible. But anyway, with that being said,
let's take it on out of here.
Take us out of here, man.
Well, folks, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it. We are #Stronger Together. Thank you, Scotty. We take y'all. We thank you all for in the chat. Those that are watching maybe in the silent at the background, and all who will watch later, thank you. If you like the content, if you like what we're doing, hit the like, hit the share, hit the subscribe. We are on Facebook, YouTube, and X. And Rumble. Anyway, those are the 4 channels we're on. So hit them, like them, subscribe them, share, let your friends know about it. That's the only way we get this message out to more and more people. And listen, as I said, we are #Stronger Together. It takes the entire community. It takes us all. And as we always say here on, yes, stay warm and stay safe, everybody, especially those of us that are in this winter storm mix going on right now. Everybody be safe and be warm. But anyway, as we always say at the end of every episode of the Farm to Table Direct Show, prepare for the unexpected and keep
it local.
No humans were harmed
Take it
in
away,
the
Hank.
production of this podcast.